Hey guys, it's Athena, and today I want to talk to you about getting unrestricted from a lack of motivation. Look, we are in crazy, unprecedented, uncertain times, and there is nothing worse than that for motivation. It is really difficult when you don't know what the future holds, and we can get into this state of lethargy. We have all this extra time now we didn't have before, yet we're struggling to get motivated to do some of the things that we want to do, or even some of the things we don't want to do. Pandemic or otherwise, here are some of the tips and tricks I use to stay motivated. The first thing that I think is really helpful if there's something that you want to do is to write it down. If you don't have a to-do list or a notebook where you write down the things that you want to do for the day, I highly recommend that you get one of these. And if you were one of the people that took my to-do list challenge, it took us 5 whole days of going through how to plan this process. But in a nutshell, if there's something you want to do or something you don't want to do, but you know you probably should, when you write it down, you're making a commitment to yourself to get it done. And you're more likely to do it because you've done a physical affirmation of that thing that you need to do. Now, the other thing that's important to think about is, have you chunked it down? Our brain is like a petulant 6-year-old. We need to make it really easy for our brain to get things done. If you've written something down that has multiple steps or that will take a really long time, your brain doesn't want anything to do with that. You can chunk down the thing that you want to do. For example, if you're really struggling to maybe say do the laundry, what you can do is write down the steps. And I know this sounds really pedantic, but it does work. Write down the steps of what you need to do the laundry. It might be get everything out of the laundry basket and sort it. Then it might be wash the colors first and then put them in the dryer. Then wash the delicates and hang those up. But there's like multiple steps. If you write down the steps and the ones that you want to do, then you're more likely to do those because when you look at it, you know exactly what you need to do, as opposed to do laundry when you have, multiple loads that need different water temperatures and that sort of thing. It's a really useful tool for anything in your life that you're putting off and you're finding a lack of motivation. Sometimes just chunking it down and looking at, okay, these are the steps that I need to take will help you find the motivation to get there. Now, the last tip that I really like for finding motivation is just commit to 5 minutes of it. And this is a tool that's used in cognitive behavioral therapy to help people get out of their funk as well. If you commit to a small amount of time, then you give yourself permission to quit. Like, just do it for 5 minutes. And if we don't like it, we can quit. We don't have to do anymore. Just do 5 minutes and I will be so happy with you. So by giving yourself a very small amount of time, and you can even set a timer, your brain knows like, we're only gonna do this for 5 minutes. This is a really useful tool when it comes to doing, say, exercise or writing something we don't wanna write or organizing that closet that we've been putting off forever. Just say, okay, I'm just gonna do it for 5 minutes. And just the very act of starting gives you the motivation to keep going. That timer goes off and you're like, do you know what? I've already gotten started. I'm gonna keep doing it. Sometimes the hardest thing for us is to just get started. But setting a timer gives yourself permission to only do it for a limited amount of time. And 5 minutes of anything usually sounds pretty manageable, whether it's exercise or washing the dishes or whatever. And oftentimes you'll find for those pesky things that you don't want to do around the house, they might not even take that long. Those are my 3 quick tips for how to get unrestricted from a lack of motivation. I have a lot more where that came from, but I think those are really great ways to just try to get started on some things. Write it down on a piece of paper, and then you'll be able to scratch it off. Chunk it down, make sure you break down the actual steps so you know exactly what you need to do when you look at it, and set a timer for 5 minutes. Just get started and you will find the motivation to keep going and just get into that habit. And once you start getting more momentum on a project or something, you will get more momentum. It snowballs, I promise. Those are my tips. I'd love to hear what you do to help banish your procrastination in the comments below. Let us know if you try out these tips, if they work for you, or if you have any others. Let's get unrestricted.